Hello yogis and yoginis, Ashley Josephine here. I'm so excited to be shooting this video from my brand new home. This is the first home, single family house that I own with my husband. I guess this is probably the first video that I've filmed since I've gotten married. So, very exciting things. I now have my own house, so many more wonderful opportunities to film videos for you in much larger spaces, much more beautiful spaces, and spaces that lend themselves to some better yoga videoing. Today we are going to talk about posture. And this is something that I see and hear from my yoga students really often. How do I know how to fix or change my posture so that I don't experience chronic low back pain, or I don't have the hunching shoulders forward? So many people recognize in their lives that they do have really bad posture. That's what I hear from my students all the time, that I have really bad posture, I know this, and then they continue to tell me what their other issues are that they're experiencing, what pain they're experiencing, and things like that. But there's never this, I know I have really bad posture, and I know how to fix it, or what I need to change so that I don't continue to have really bad posture. So I want to empower you today with a couple different ways that you can help yourself understand, one, where your postural habits are currently, and two, what you need to do, what you need to activate, and what you need to be looking at to help you find better posture. Once you find better posture in your life and you practice that posture over and over again, this will help you reverse, hopefully, and relieve some of the chronic pain that you may be experiencing in your body. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about, oh, by the way, I'm going to throw out some really anatomical terms to you today. I'm not as concerned that you know the names of these terms. I'm more concerned that you just understand the general overview, the big picture, and that you can take that big picture with you, and you don't have to remember the name of where we're going to point here or down there, just as long as you understand in general what needs to be done. So the first thing that I want to bring your attention to is something called the ischial tuberosities, and these are bony landmarks in your butt. You might have heard them referred to by yoga teachers before as sit bones or sits bones, and that's kind of the layman term for these 2 points right at the bottom of your butt. They're these bony points, and you can actually take your hands and palpate around and find these really bony points right underneath your butt. These are called your ischial tuberosities, and if you sit right up on these 2 bony points, and then also find your sacrum. Your sacrum is the lowest point of your spine. It's a triangle-shaped bone right at the bottom of your spine. Again, you can take your finger back there and palpate around and go pretty low and find that triangle shape. So you're sitting right on top of your ischial tuberosities. You find that triangle shape, your sacrum, and then vertically stack that triangle shape right over your ischial tuberosities. This will help you sit up straight. You will have a neutral pelvis, and your shoulders will be stacked right over your hips. This will help you find an anatomical correct posture. That's the first thing that you can look at to help you find a neutral hip position. So you really want to focus on finding and sitting all the way up on your ischial tuberosities. A lot of times we sit forward, we really fold forward. I know that I'm guilty of that a lot. And sometimes that slouching causes us to lean back. Anytime that we sit in an office chair or on the couch watching TV, we're often leaning back and taking a lot of the weight behind the ischial tuberosities. So if you come all the way up to the top of those bony landmarks right underneath you, and then line up your sacrum right over those bony landmarks, that you will find neutral. There you will find neutral. So that's the first part. The second part that I want you to become aware of is in the front side of your body, and this relates directly to your shoulders, especially all you rounders coming forward. So what you want to know about is the pubic symphysis and the xiphoid process. The xiphoid process is right at the top of your rib cage and the bottom of your sternum. If you poke your finger right there, you'll feel this hollow little point. That's generally about where the xiphoid process is. So keep one finger right there, and then take your other finger and we'll take it to about where the pubic symphysis is located. Now the pubic symphysis is deep within the body, so we won't actually be able to touch it per se, but you'll be able to find the general place where it exists. Now, the pelvic bowl comes down on each side. You have your right side and your left side, and right in between there's this tiny little space. There's a joint in between that space. That's called your pubic symphysis. That joint exists to help absorb the shock of walking and running, and it also helps women give birth so we don't break our pelvis when we give birth, which is kind of important. So you've got your pubic symphysis. It's located right above the genitalia. I know it's a super awkward place. Hopefully you're in the privacy of your own home and you don't have to be all weirded out by putting your finger right down there and your other one right up in the bottom of your sternum. You've got these 2 points, and then if you gaze down, you're also lucky that you weren't in my yoga classes this week, or maybe you were, because we did do this in class a little bit more public, but it's okay. All for the betterment of our own self-knowledge. So you line up these 2 points vertically over one another, and that will help you stack your shoulders directly over your hips. Now for those shoulder rounders, you can see when I round my shoulders, my top finger might come up and over my bottom finger a lot. This is a big exaggeration, but over time this could potentially happen to your body if you're habitually in this position. And then for those of us who like to have posterior or anterior tilted pelvises, in that posterior tilt you bring your pelvis forward. Look how far back that top finger goes, or how far forward the bottom finger goes, so that we don't have that vertical nice stacked line. And the anterior pelvis would look something like this, and that brings the hips way behind the shoulders. So if you can line up those 2 points and find this nice vertical line, you'll have your shoulders directly aligned over your hips. So now I'm sitting at the top of my sit bones. My sacrum is vertically aligned on top of the ischial tuberosities. My xiphoid process is right over my pubic symphysis. Again, forget the anatomical terms if it's way too confusing, and just understand the bigger picture. And you have this really nice anatomical posture. At first, it might feel very strange, but over time it feels very light, like you're almost floating over the mat. Like there's very little effort involved in sitting in this way. Now, being able to sit like this will help relieve any pressure in your low back and your spine. It will open up your chest and your shoulders. It could relieve some pain, some chronic pain that you might be feeling in your neck, because you've taken out the hunch in your shoulders, the closing off of your upper body. You've taken off the tilting of your pelvis and the pressure that's put on your lower back when the pelvis tilts out of that neutral position. To maintain this, you might feel like your core needs to turn on. We always need to have a little bit of that core activation to help keep us where we need to be, which is why things like medicine balls or some of those inflatable ball chairs are offered as a solution to low back pain, or better sitting at workplaces. I used to sit on a big fitness ball, and that's because it forces you to engage your core to keep your pelvis and your shoulders in the right position, as long as you know where your pelvis and your shoulders need to be. Finally, make sure that you relax your shoulders down away from your ears. You might need to activate some of the muscles in your upper back to help you keep your shoulders down and back if you are like many people and hunch your shoulders forward. So there's a little bit of muscular activation. Of course, there's always a little bit of muscular activation. This will help you find better posture and hopefully a more easeful way of living in your daily life. I hope that you found this video helpful. Again, my name is Ashley Josephine, and I hope to see you on or off the mat again soon. Namaste.